Gareth, thanks for your time today and jumping on this. I'm going to start off with the big one. Your album released last year, Gareth Leach and the Narratives of Hope. This was like an ARIA number one country album. Like, where were you when you kind of found out that you had a number one album in Australia?
Oh, look, I was checking. I was looking for it. I wanted to know how it went. Obviously, it was, it comes out in a certain time every week and all that sort of stuff. And I'd submitted the record to be considered, and all the sales counted up and all that sort of stuff. So I was definitely looking around to see what happened. I don't remember where it was, but it was pretty big, man. Like, we all set goals and stuff with our music. This album in particular, I wanted to really promote as best as I could, and being a completely independent artist with a pretty small team that I work with, we worked really bloody hard to promote the absolute crap out
Yeah,
of
I
the
bet.
album, pre-sales and stuff like that. It all came down to a lot of it pre-sales and the album launch stuff. I'm not going to stand up here and say that it was an easy thing to do, because it really wasn't. It was a lot of work, and it's not really sustainable. Only the people on the major labels manage to stay in the charts for more than a week or so. But it was a little goal I'd always had ever since I was a kid to crack the ARIA charts and make it in there. And we made it with my last album, Trigger. But yeah, hitting number one was, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Trigger, I think, got number two, but man, that's huge. When you were going through this album, when you were preparing this album, you're recording this album, you're writing the songs, did it feel special? Did it feel like this was like one better than Trigger?
Look, it was definitely a progression. It was something that I was aiming to do with Trigger. That the aim of the record, from a production standpoint, was to try and have as little things plugged in as possible. It was meant to be big, full sound,
Right.
but as in essence, all acoustic instruments and only electric guitar if absolutely required. This record was the exact opposite. I was going for something where it was just like try everything, see if it works, and bigger is better sort of stuff. So, look, it came together in a pretty disjointed way. It was just it coming out of COVID years over here as
Mm.
well. So the writing process was different. The recording process was a little bit different. There was it was a little bit more staggered than I would usually produce or record a record in. But because of that, I was able to, I guess, become a little bit more finicky. And you get demo-itis sometimes by over-listening and over-listening and over-listening before you hit the main mix and all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
especially when you demo. Yeah, look, there was a lot of extra listening that I wouldn't have normally done. So if that was a good thing, maybe, I'm not sure, but it was definitely a different process, and it felt like it was coming together, but it was a really slow journey.
Yeah, right. Is it what time frame would you put on it from like the inception of the concept of those tracks to the release? How long did that process take?
Oh, look, I think after I released Trigger, and that was what, 2020, because we were still very much doing nothing. I pretty much started writing for the next record straight away,
Yeah, wow.
and I probably built up a collection of maybe 25 odd songs that I thought could be on an album. And I know that sounds like a lot in this day and age, because most people, with the drip feed of singles and all that
Yep.
sort of stuff. I'm, like a lot of, I guess, I don't want to be rude or condescending or anything like that. But I guess, like with most artists of maybe of my era, of my age, there's still a lot of value in the concept of an album and all that sort of stuff. So I really wanted this to be a good album, start to finish. It's got a bit of movement to it, and I know I love albums that take you to different places.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cracking album. Some great tracks on there. One in particular, so Big Ol' Feelings is a single on that one. You did a collab of that with a Davidson Brothers. Collabs always kind of fascinate me. How did that start? Like who comes up with the idea and approaches the other one to be like, I've got this really cool idea, I want to share it with you.
Yeah, look, in this case, like, I mean, I've been involved in a couple over my time, as songwriting collabs, or as in this case, a recording collab for a shared project type thing. In this case, it's actually really organic, because Hamish Davidson plays in my band.
Right, cool.
He's an occasional member. He's not. He can't get along to all of them, because he's obviously busy with the Davos. But yeah, I've been friends with Hamish for quite a while, and I came up with this idea for a really nice, sweet little bluegrass song about my son and his battles emotionally as a
Yeah,
as
right.
a toddler and moving to becoming a little boy and being a middle child and the rage of being that
Yep.
middle child boy. And I sent it to Hamish and I said, I reckon you guys would be really cool on this track. And look, I'm going to be completely honest with you, mate. You're probably my best chance of getting the Golden Guitar nominations because you guys are, bluegrass champions. So let's have a crack and see if you can do it. And luckily they hadn't been doing too much recording wise at that period of time, so I was able to get together with them and send them the tracks, get them to, we sort of got together and recorded it, and my little gamble paid off, and luckily we were nominated for a Golden Guitar, which I wouldn't have expected, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest, if I hadn't have pulled out the big guns and getting the Davos involved. So it was really cool.
Yeah, but like I love it. You had a vision, you had the people in mind to execute it. You get the Golden Guitar nom. Was that your first nom for a Golden Guitar?
Yeah, first and probably only ever nom, man.
Yeah,
So it's something I don't ever take for granted, especially with what I do and my brand of country music. It's I put the C in the word country music. I feel sometimes a lot of people don't really get what I do. I don't want to conform to a specific sound, and I feel like it's very there's a big industry, but a very small box of what mainstream country music in Australia looks like and what they're looking for. So, yeah, it was really bloody awesome to get that. As far as the peer respect, I think that's the biggest one for the Golden Guitar Knob. I mean,
yeah, great.
every award, every sort of things like that, they're nice, but they're a bit of a wank. It's just and there's a lot of it's a scene, and whether you thrive on being involved in a scene and thrive on being involved in being accepted by certain cliques is kind of irrelevant. It just makes you feel kind of nice to be acknowledged, and yeah,
Yeah,
that meant the world. It was so cool.
yeah, great. That track in particular, one thing that really impressed me about that is um there's a lot going on in that song. Like there's a lot of complexity, but but somehow it's still really clean. Like so you can have a track sometimes it's almost too busy, there's too much going on.
Oh, that's the beauty of bluegrass music. You know what I mean? Like you got no drums in there as well, so automatically you've got a whole bunch of different frequencies that you wouldn't normally get to work with otherwise, when you've got a full band sort of
Yeah,
sound. But the players, are integral to that sort of success. I guess you could call it success when it comes to
yeah,
how rich it sounds without being, I guess, overdone or too cooked. And yeah, the Davidson brothers are amazing players, and it's a very simple song. It's only got four chords in it, and it's all about the playful interactions in between lines and
mm,
outside of lines, and it comes down to the sonic space of the fact that by the virtue of bluegrass being a little bit more open, you can fit a little bit more in there and have a bit more testosterone
yeah, yeah, yeah,
poking through the gaps,
yeah.
and incredible players.
The another collab that I've come across, single "My Crime" with
Mhm.
Michaela Jenka. Forgive me
Jenky,
for
that's all right, Michaela Jenky.
Jenky. One thing that impressed me about that song is how well vocally you guys seem to kind of work together. Like when you were writing that song, or as that song was evolving, were you like, I know exactly the voice that will suit this song, to match you?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I mean, that song came about um, in a pretty organic way. I didn't know it was going to be a collaboration or a duet when I first wrote it. Um, but then I kept on hearing the harmony and the other lines in there, and it sort of became pretty obvious pretty quickly that it should have another vocal in there. And I'd worked with or met and seen and played with and hung out with Michaela a bunch beforehand, and being that she's in South Australia as well, it was kind of a bit of a task to get her together. But luckily I organised a few shows here in Melbourne, and she came over with her husband Reed and did a few shows, and I managed to sneak them into the studio for a little bit and
Great.
record. You never know how it's going to go, and it's very much like asking somebody out on a date and seeing if they're going to say
Mm.
yes. Um, luckily enough, she said yes and liked the song enough to want to put her name to it as well. So it was definitely a bit of a throw at the wall and see if it sticks sort of thing. But you know, given that I knew her tone from her previous records, and I was just like, yeah, I reckon this will work. And she was into it, so we
Yeah.
gave it a go, and it worked.
Now you've had some phenomenal gigs, and I think most there'd be so many musicians would look at the list of gigs, the festivals that you've kind of played at
Yeah,
with absolute awe, right? Getting on one of those sorts of lineups would be like a career goal, I think, for a lot of musos. And you you
yeah,
you, you would run out of ink, I reckon, if I was to list them all. Big one this year though was Melbourne Muster.
hmm,
Like Hoodoo Gurus, Lee Kernaghan, Becky Cole, Kingswood, like some massive,
yeah,
massive names on that.
yeah.
When you pitch to a festival, what do you see your strengths to be in that? Like what are you hitting them with?
Oh, dude, I've got to be honest. I've just been really lucky. Um, a lot of the relationships I've had with festival promoters and bookers has been really by virtue of meeting them in coincidence, and hanging out and chatting and just sending the email and not being afraid to hear the word no. I mean, as musicians, we hear that word no so much, and I
Yeah,
think that the general public doesn't realize how taxing and that can be on your self-esteem and your confidence to put yourself out there and put yourself out there again and again and again and again and hear that same reply. The word no comes in so many different forms, but you hear it all the bloody time.
you do.
And look, I'd had experience in bands all through my teens and 20s, and now my 30s, that sort of taught me to sort of just not back down from it and just be persistent, and don't be a dickhead about it. Just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
don't push the friendships too much, and just be be a present sort of like a thought, I guess, or even afterthought when it comes to a lot of these people, and just staying in touch. Like,
Yeah, cool.
I stay in touch with a lot of the people I do work with to get festival shows, and and they're not always emails or things about the gigs and stuff like that. It's just about staying in touch, staying cordial, and developing a respectful relationship that goes back and forth. Yeah, as an
Yeah,
independent artist, it's a bit easier, I think, maybe to do that, because if you've got a team behind you, it feels like a lot of the interactions that you're having with those sorts of people in the industry who are booking, who are
yeah,
involved in festivals or promoting stuff or whatever, it can seem like you're always touching out, asking for something. Asking for something from
yeah.
people. People hate that. I hate it when people are constantly nagging at me, asking for something. So yeah, look, it's been really organic, and I've just been really lucky, and I've been around. It didn't happen straight away. I've been doing this project for 10 years.
Mm.
And a lot of my first two releases, you know, didn't really give me all that much. You know what I mean? Like and it's just a persistent effort, I suppose.
Yeah.
And
So, like after a gig, like because you've also done like the Denny Ute Muster, I think I saw that in there as well. Like some of these big ones that you've done, like Mornington, Tamworth. Um, what do you find once you've done a show like that? Does anything change for you afterwards? Like, are there any takeaways that you go like, wow, like either I learned something or I witnessed something or something that you take away from any of those shows where it impacts you and how you kind of go about your music going forward?
I don't think that there's a gig you don't like in some way, shape, or form, right? Like, I mean, whether it be the worst gig you ever jump up on stage, you learn something from it. I spent when I was first starting out with this project, I went back to playing covers and going into pubs as a solo artist and stuff like that, just to get my craft up and get my
Yep.
confidence to, you know, play in a room full of no ears, but still try to put on a show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that gigs like that are completely valuable. I mean, we played at the main stage at Tamworth at Americana in the Park, and I remember being absolutely petrified of doing that. The first time I was really starting to pick up momentum with festivals and stuff like that. I think I'd
Mm.
just done my first couple main stage festivals, and I just remember being absolutely terrified, and feeling like it was all starting all over again. And getting through that was a big process and a big, when you get through it, there's no better feeling in the world. The endorphin rush you get,
Yeah.
it's the best feeling in the world. Um, I've played festivals as well where we haven't been received as well as you might hope. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like it or not. I'd prefer people to either love or hate my music, really, to be honest, because it means that it's not generic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so there are points where I've played gigs with the things that I do, and I can tell that it hasn't gone down as well as it, has in other things, in other events or other festivals or other shows. And you kind of you learn a little bit to how to pick and choose what you do for those audiences as well, so that they can have a good
Yeah.
time as well. Like, I mean, having a bit of an arsenal of material is important, of
Mm-hmm.
course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And also being rehearsed up on it with the bands is pretty important, so that you can throw in last minute additions or subtractions, so that you can try to put on a show, because at the end of the day, no one wants to go to a festival or a concert and have a horrible time listening to one of the bands, right? Like, I mean,
No.
that's not good. That's not good for them. It's not good for you. It's
Yeah.
not good for your PR relationship with whatever the festival is, or as what it's that stuff like that as well. So
Now you've got like a really cool selection of merch with some really cool ideas and designs and
thank you.
logos. That's obviously, I assume, has evolved over the last decade.
Mm.
Do you remember what was the catalyst to you being like, I need to get my name on a t-shirt or I need to get some merch out? What was the trigger point for you?
Oh, dude, I've been a band shirt guy my whole life, so the idea of having merch was like it had to happen. Like,
Yeah.
look, when I released my first EP, I did my first pub show as an album launch or whatever, and I thought it was important to sort of put on a show and sort of present it as being like a professional gig,
Yeah.
not just a some shit kicker just deciding to release an EP. So yeah, no, look, the idea of having merch was pretty quick, and so for my first show ever, I had merch.
Yeah, wow.
I thought it was important to have something that sort of says this is authentic, this is real, this isn't some dude who's just put together that EP he's been working on for 6 months.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
been
yeah.
working on my new EP.
Yeah.
There's memes about that everywhere. So look, yeah, I love big bold graphics. I hate the idea of having my name on a t-shirt. I reckon it's really kind of lame as a solo artist. The idea of having your name on something. I definitely like the idea of a band rather
Yeah,
than that. So
I can agree with that.
yeah, exactly right. So like the idea of you know putting something on it that's cool that makes you think, oh, would I wear that?
Yeah.
And then you got to put your name on there, obviously, because you're promoting
Yeah.
your brand as an artist. But
Mm.
you got to think what would I want to wear. I think that's kind of how I approach it. I mean, a lot of people approach it with what would people want to wear, but I like to think what would I wear, because I think that the people who listen to my music, they're going to probably have similar sort of taste,
Yeah,
fashion to me.
valid. And I mean, what confidence to be like from day one, gig one, to be like, you know what, like, here I am. I am a live musician. This is kind of my future, and to like, yeah, invest in that merch from gig one, man. That's a gutsy thing to do. And it's kind of like, yeah, like you said, I can immediately see like you're forcing the point to be like, no, there's a difference between me and what I'm about to some of the other people out there having like an entry level crack.
Yeah, look, and it is that maturity of being around for longer as well. Like, you know, I don't undervalue how important it's been to actually grow and change and develop. You know, I've been playing in bands since I was 12, 13 years old. I've been in bands that thought were going to be the biggest thing in the world since Silverchair. You know what I mean?
Can
Like,
relate. Yep,
you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
and I think that idea of learning from each of those things and the little things you pick up, the little things you pick up not to do, they're really important in sort of selling the idea
Yeah.
of being a professional. And you are selling an idea of you being a professional. I don't know any musician who actually feels like an adult. We're perpetual children. We've got big dreams, we've got big feelings, and we hate hearing the word no. But what we do know for certain is that we love what we do and we love our music, and it can drag us through the mud. emotionally and financially. Luckily for me, when I've released my first EP, I'd only had one kid at that point, so wasn't as broke as I am now. So I probably wouldn't be able. If I was starting now, I probably wouldn't be able to afford to have done that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
good
I mean,
timing is so important.
yeah. Very true. You're coming over to WA next month. Is this your first time to WA?
Ever.
Wow.
Forever.
Forever,
Yeah,
ever. Yeah.
yeah. No, very excited, man. I've always wanted to go to WA. Selfishly, just because I want to see the Bon Scott
Yeah.
statue in Freo.
Yeah.
But no, look, I'm really excited, and luckily enough, I've been working with the team at the festival that run this on some of their other festivals.
They're a great bunch.
Um,
Yeah.
they're amazing, as you know, and you know, the guys are, I think everyone in the band who's going over there have been to WA, and
Yeah.
we're
Wow.
we're all late 30s,
Yeah.
some of us in our early 40s, and we're heading over to do it. So it's going to be like school camp, man. We can't wait.
Outside of that, like what else is lined up for you? What's next for Gareth Leach?
Good question. Well, there's a few things sort of hanging in the balance at the moment. We've announced a few other festivals we're playing towards this year. I think we got some over this way,
Mm.
and just some like club shows. There's this really fantastic venue that's opened in Melbourne because country music isn't as divisive anymore. So
Yes.
there's actually a country music venue here now. We've been lucky enough to play before, and we're going to be playing there again in about a month or so.
Yeah, cool.
And yeah, just I've been writing some new stuff, and I've recorded a couple songs um that that are sort of getting close to be done. So yeah, there's some stuff happening, but after the last album, I didn't want to rush into anything. So I've taken it. It's been a real slow process in as far as creatively wanting to start writing again. I don't just want to write for the sake of it or anything like that. So it's been a bit of a slower process, but I've been finding over the even just last month, I've been putting pen to paper and pulling
Cool.
out the guitar with the intention of writing a little bit more. So yeah, been doing something. One of them might pop its head out by the end of the year. We'll see.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And because you've been around the game for a long time, is there a sense of like, all right, is there a ceiling? Like, is there a limit to kind of where your kind of music career goes? Like, or is it a case of actually, you know what? Like, I'm not going to put a lid on this. I'm just going to keep running and see what happens.
Yeah, look, that's a really good question. It's a hard one to answer. Like, I mean, I think any truly honest musician knows that there's probably a ceiling, right? Like, I mean, there's probably going to be a level that you're going to get to, and that's going to be it. And is there any point in going on from there? At the moment, I think that just doing it and being grateful for the fact that that we can play these gigs and stuff. We are fortunate enough to be a part of festival circuits over here. Is something I don't take lightly at all, and the fact that people know who we are is really cool. So for as long as that's going on, of course I'm going to keep on playing. When it comes to sort of like when's enough is enough, I guess when it stops being fun, and I guess maybe sort of more so when that sort of that ceiling is visible, like, or it's like it's clear that you've hit that, and there's no point in carrying on for
Yeah.
anything other than the fact that you still love doing it.
Because you've got an incredible level of success already, right? The shows that you do and the crowds that you play and the quality of the music that you write. If somebody said to me, you can do that for the next 30 years, just because it may never grow beyond that, that certainly wouldn't stop me from enjoying every single second of it, right?
Yeah, you'd think. I can see how it would become taxing, and you'd become really jaded by it, though. You know what I mean? Uh, or maybe you don't. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I feel like if I was doing the same thing over there, I'd stagnate and get bored, and I feel like that I'm not succeeding, and like it's this weird sort of curse of just what we do, I suppose, in many ways. I would be. I don't know whether I could sustain it. I mean, I'd love to think that I could sustain it for a bit, but ego gets the better of you sometimes, and self sometimes, and it's maybe not even ego. It's just maybe not being ever satisfied. You
Yeah.
know, like, I mean, you got to be thirsty. You've got to be hungry to go for it to make it in the music business.
Mhm.
Everyone loves to celebrate the successes and
Yeah.
celebrate anniversaries and stuff like that. And I think in those cases, there's that's why even lesser known bands do reunions, right? Because they're proud of what they've done, and they can celebrate the success and whatever that success was, whether it was just being in a band with four of your best mates
Totally.
and getting back together every 5 years to do a reunion
Yeah.
show just for shits and giggles.
You mentioned, you started playing, in bands when you were 12, 13. I did the same. And my high school drummer is actually jumping on for a festival with us
Oh,
this
cool.
weekend. And, that feeling of kind of getting up with those guys, I can't imagine. I mean, that's for me, that's nearly 30 years ago. I've been playing with this
Yeah,
guy over those
yeah.
years. And so I can't imagine a time when doing that, even if I'm old and frail with a colostomy bag, is gonna kind of change that. Yeah.
I know that. I know that feeling. I've just recorded a whole album with my high school band.
No
We
way.
yeah, we got together and we're like the album's like we're finishing mixing it literally this weekend. So I know exactly what you mean, man. Like there's something really magical about the relationships and the brotherhood or whatever it
Yeah.
is, in the relationships you share with those people that you work with. It's yeah, it's so cool, man.
Or maybe it's just dawned on me. You need help to see the love you have around. 'Cause it's been a long time since I've seen the world through your eyes. I felt the same